Tonight on Fox, getting a bird's eye view of the iconic bald eagle at this year's Eagle Watching Days. But first, the green and the gold try to ground the Cardinals in Arizona, while hundreds back home root them on. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Leah Linscheid in for Danica Lewis. Thousands of Packer fans are in Phoenix tonight rooting on the green and gold, but Keely Arthur spoke to plenty of Packer fans today who are celebrating right here at home, Keely.
Yeah, Leah, whether you're at the game or not, there is something about the Packers that seems to bring everyone together. Tonight, dozens of people poured into Damon's Pizza Place on Madison's west side. The bar served up the normal bar fare and, of course, some game day-inspired specials like green drinks. Damon's owners say having the Packers in the playoffs is a win-win. As fans, they are very excited, but the game also keeps business moving in slower months like January. Packers fans say going out in Madison to watch the playoffs is a special experience.
Random people you never met before. It brings you together. It fills a restaurant. And you hear laughter and joy. And you get to share a moment. Everyone, like when we score a touchdown, or we get to share sadness when we lose.
Damon's began filling up hours before the game. Die-hard patrons even reserved tables, but of course, it was far from the only bar or restaurant benefiting from the game. Many places were packed, including Babe's in Madison. And the majority of fans I spoke to were very optimistic about the game. They said last year's playoffs loss to the Seahawks was tough, but that this year they'll go all the way.
That's what we're hoping. Score right now, 6-7, Cardinals, but there's plenty of time left.
Yes. They're going to win.
All right. Thanks, Keely. Well, Packers fans in Arizona will get a real cold awakening when they return to Wisconsin. Bob Lesh is here on the Fox deck with your first Foxcast.
Yeah,
Bob,
if they're lucky, they booked a trip that'll last about a week, because by the end of next week, it'll be much warmer. However, these next couple of days, and including right now, I can tell you from experience, it is very cold, and the wind chills are going to remain very cold, at least through Monday. Temperatures currently at 2 degrees in Madison. We're down to 0 in Wisconsin Dells. Camp Douglas is at 3 below. Viroqua 2 below, and you can see they get even colder as you move back to the north and west. Wind chills are very cold, 15 below here in Madison. We are down to 20 below in Camp Douglas and Viroqua, and the winds will continue to be rather breezy tonight, so we could see those wind chills as cold as perhaps 25 to 30 below by tomorrow morning. We have a wind chill advisory for most of us. This runs through noon on Monday for a few spots, including Richland, Grant, Juneau, and Adams counties. It'll drop out at noon on Sunday, but then almost definitely be reevaluated and put out again for Sunday night. So your Foxcast for tomorrow will start out at 4 below. By noon, we'll be just below 0 and perhaps just squeaking above 0 by the afternoon, but the winds will make it such that it'll feel more like 15 to 25 below all day long. Make sure you bundle up if you're going out tomorrow, and we'll have some better news in the longer range forecast coming up in a little bit.
Looking forward to it, Bob. Thank you. Well, Bob and I might be complaining about the cold, but some say it's about time, including local ice rinks. Madison Parks plus the Edgewater rink all had to delay their openings this year, but the ice is finally frozen, and the Edgewater, along with ice rinks at Elver, Vilas, and Tenney Parks, are all open this weekend for your skating enjoyment. And if ice isn't your thing, maybe eagle watching is. The majestic birds were soaring high in Sauk Prairie today, where residents celebrated Eagle Watching Days. But it's not all about our national bird. Chris Gothner explains what else the annual event has to offer.
1, 2, 3.
Watch her soar.
Just to see them fly and what they can do, it's amazing.
This young eagle was one of 2 released today in Prairie du Sac, but not before she got up close and personal.
Well, you're so close. Most people don't get as close to an eagle as you can here.
But today wasn't just about eagles. Hawks and owls headlined a show about birds of prey, and groups advocating for other birds used Eagle Days as a day to educate, including a group dedicated to protecting cranes.
Cranes have gone through a rapid population decline, and historically, just as the eagles have and a lot of other species have.
Because above all, today was for the birds.
People, for whatever reason, get interested in one species, and then that interest carries over to others, and the idea of conservation and the interconnectedness of species, that message begins to become real obvious.
In Prairie du Sac, Chris Gothner for Fox 47 News at 9.
Thanks, Chris. Eagle Days also included bus tours, talks, and, of course, plenty of eagle viewing opportunities. Well, next on Fox, Madison police are still looking for the man suspected in an armed robbery on the city's east side. Officers say a man walked into a Q Spa on East Washington Avenue around 11 this morning, armed with a handgun. He's described as a 25-year-old black male, about 6 feet tall, with a slim build and short hair. Now, if you have any information on the robbery, you're asked to call the Madison Area Crime Stoppers. That number is right there on your screen. A Madison man is facing his 9th drunk driving ticket this weekend. Police say they responded to reports of domestic disturbance last night on the city's east side, but 46-year-old George Boyer had already left. Officers later spotted his car driving nearby. After a short-lived chase on foot, Boyer was booked into the Dane County Jail, where he's now facing his 9th drunk driving offense, along with disorderly conduct, resisting an officer, and a host of other charges. The latest concern for law enforcement here in Wisconsin, marijuana-laced candy. La Crosse police say they've come across gummy bears made with THC a handful of times now over the past few months. Because the drug looks and tastes like candy, they're worried that kids will try to eat the substance. The crime for being caught with the gummies, by the way, possession of marijuana and intent to deliver a controlled substance. Well, a controversial rule by the WIAA has one Wisconsin mayor speaking up against it. In December, the WIAA emailed all Wisconsin schools to say that chants like "you can't do that" and airball, cheers normally heard at sporting events, are unacceptable. Parents and students across the state have voiced their opposition to the rule, and now so is Wisconsin Dells Mayor. Brian Lander says it's stifling fan participation.
That's the reminder of the rules, or the effort by the WIAA to enforce some of these rules, is an infringement on the speech of our student body and our fan base. And I think it's also disrespectful that it makes assumptions that our fan base is offensive.
The memo of 1222 was simply, from this perspective, intended to be, hey, remember sportsmanship as you head into holiday tournaments.
The association says it's simply trying to promote politeness, adding the contents of that email have been in the WIAA Sportsmanship Handbook for years. Well, hundreds of Walmarts across the country are about to close their doors, leaving some here in Wisconsin without the convenience store close by.
This is the store that I go to all the time to get the odds and ends.
I got him all the time.
I'm a handicapped person myself, so that means I have to drive out of the way, and not only that, is that I'm on a limited income.
I used to walk from my house here, and it's gonna be too far to, to go.
Of the 269 total closures, 4 will happen in the Milwaukee area. Employees there will be relocated to other nearby stores. Those closures will begin at the end of the month. Wall Street took another beating this week. Economists are blaming falling oil prices for the recent stock market slumps. The price hit a 12-year low at less than $30 a barrel. Those cheaper prices at the pump, though, are putting companies in a tight position.
It might save the consumer a few bucks here and there, but a lot of these oil companies are laden with some debt. Those stocks will go lower. Those companies will be forced to lay people off.
Hundreds of thousands of employees in that industry have already been laid off. In just the past 2 weeks, the Dow's lost more than 1,000 points, putting the market on track for its worst month since the financial meltdown of 2009. Potentially the worst news ever, at least right before Valentine's Day, the world may be headed for a chocolate shortage. Demand is way up, especially in Asia, but cocoa growers are struggling to meet it. The Wall Street Journal reports production is down as crops face bad weather and disease, and we're seeing those effects in local candy shops. The cost of cocoa has jumped nearly 40% in the past 3 years. But other companies are stepping up their game just in time for that holiday. Hostess is rolling out 5 new treats, including I Heart You cakes. Starbucks will be whipping up pink frappuccinos, and M&M's added a strawberry shortcake flavor, offering you some chocolate alternatives for Valentine's Day.